let us begin. So we have got a festive treat for you today, although you might not have known it from the image that I put up in stories. So I'm not going to do that one first. I'm going to turn off commenting, even though I love to see you all there. I'm going to turn off commenting and I'm going to go, in fact, first of all, to this image. And now this is a very strange image, you might think. And you might also be thinking, what on earth is this guy throwing through the window? Well, eagle-eyed amongst you will see that this isn't just any old guy. This is a saint. Look, he has a lovely halo. And I'm going to make you quite excited now because this is, in fact, my future husband. Me being Mummy Christmas. This is Father Christmas. So Father Christmas in his younger days, before he got his beard, grew his beard, and got his paunch, too many mince pies, and before he started wearing an outfit rather like mine, only the man's version. So this is St. Nicholas. So you might be wondering what on earth he's doing, chucking things into this room. Well, this is an act of charity for St. Nicholas. So this is a father with his 3 daughters. You might not know it, but it is a father with 3 daughters. And they are incredibly poor. And so what St. Nicholas is doing is he's throwing golden balls into their room anonymously, like globbing them in. And the golden balls are going to provide a dowry for the 3 daughters who are, don't have enough money to have a dowry. And without a dowry, they can't get married. And without getting married, there is a good chance that they will have to earn money, unfortunately for them, by going into prostitution. So potentially a very unhappy ending for them, all prevented by the marvellous St. Nicholas. So that's what he's doing. So this is part of an altarpiece by an Italian artist called Bicchi di Lorenzo. Try saying that after a sherry or 2 or 6. So this is another very similar image. So this dates to the 13th century. And this is once again St. Nicholas providing a dowry of golden balls to 3 poor maidens. But here, I don't know whether you can see, but he looks like he's just sort of poking his hand through a window, and it kind of reminds me of a bit from I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, when you had to stick your hand in somewhere and you don't quite know what you're going to find. Well, I'm surprised they're not a bit disturbed, a hand kind of coming through the window. Looking like he might be about to grope them or something. I don't know. It's not great, is it? But that is another example of St. Nicholas and the golden balls for the maidens. Now, we have met St. Nicholas before. And if you recall, if you think this image is disturbing, or the previous image was a little bit odd, do you remember this from St. Nicholas's very early years? So this is a fresco, and this is St. Nicholas as a baby. So he might have grown up to be a lovely, helpful saint providing dowries for maidens, but he started out as the most difficult child, probably anywhere. I can't imagine a more difficult kid. So the story goes that he would refuse his mother's milk. So he is sitting on his mother's lap. She looks quite demonic, with the strangest breast in art history, or at least one of them. So he would refuse his mother's milk on a Wednesday and a Friday. I don't know how he knew what day of the week it was, but he did somehow. It's a saint for you. And some stories he refused altogether on a Wednesday and Friday and wouldn't drink anything. In other stories, apparently he would take his mother's milk, but only after evensong, so in the evenings on a Wednesday and Friday. And then there's another story of his baptism when apparently as a teeny tiny baby, don't forget that babies were baptized very soon after they were born back in those days. This is the 3rd century. And apparently he stood for 3 hours at his christening, which symbolized the Trinity, the Father, the Son and the Holy Spirit. Quite an obscure baby, but this is one of the weirdest images of a saint with his mother I think I have ever seen, so much so that it has been immortalized. You're probably too late for Christmas, but do you remember this? So this is a resin toy of St. Nicholas taken from this fresco, which is in an abbey, by the way, in Piedmont in Italy. Because his abstinence is supposed to teach abstinence, so he wasn't going to drink milk on 2 days a week, and so this is supposed to help the monks in the Abbotsbury. I was going to say Abbotsbury. That was very near where I used to live in Weymouth. But there you go. So that's St. Nicholas as a abbey. That's what I was looking for. Still couldn't remember it for a minute. I've only had a sip of sherry, I promise you. So we know he's good with maidens. We know he was a really difficult kid, but he did actually grow up to become, of course, the patron saint of children. And he grew up to become the patron saint of children because he saved loads of them from, I was going to say a fate worse than death, but actually he saved them from death and pretty nasty incidents. So this is another altarpiece, or part of an altarpiece. Unknown artist, this one, 14th century. And it's a bit complicated, so I'm going to break it down. So first of all, this is a family who are having they've got a lovely 2-story house, and they're having a lovely banquet, a lovely dinner. And they hear a knock on the door, and all the adults are like, oh, I'm not answering. Oi, child, young boy, whatever the child of the house is called. Should we call him Giovanni again? Oi, Giovanni, can you go and answer the door, please? We can't be bothered. We're a bit too drunk to get up. So little Giovanni gets up, answers the door. And who is at the door but this guy here, who has a long cloak on and a weird hat and some kind of black wings, looks a little bit suspect. He's saying that he's a poor beggar, and does little Giovanni have anything that he can spare for him? So Giovanni says yes, goes and gets him something, goes out, and the beggar says, oh, come a little bit closer. And then do you know what he does? Because the beggar is in fact the devil. This is horrible. He strangles the kid. So this is the devil strangling little Giovanni. Horrific story. And Giovanni is only saved when he's resurrected by St. Nicholas. So this is Giovanni. He's lying down in this image, but he's also then sort of standing up. So he's the little guy with his arms up. To the amazement of this gentleman, presumably his dad, over on the right-hand side, who should have answered the door in the first place, shouldn't have let his little boy go and answer the door, and definitely shouldn't have let his little boy go out and and talk to strangers, because this stranger might be the devil. So St. Nicholas is actually resurrecting this child, and now we know what the story is. You can actually see it as a whole. So on the top right hand, you've got this dinner party, and then at the top of the steps, you've got little Giovanni opening the door to the devil who's up there. And then down in the bottom left-hand corner, you have the horrible devil strangling little Giovanni, and you've got the resurrection scene to the bottom right, but right over to the left-hand side, you have a figure with these black beams that you can see sort of going across the image, and this is St. Nicholas with like laser X-ray eyes, because that's how you resurrect children that have been strangled by the devil. In case you didn't know, there you go. Top tip. That's not the only time he saved children, St. Nicholas. So this is even earlier. This is 12th century, stained glass. And again, it's a bit of a curious image. So we start on the left side image. So this is the left-hand side. And you've got a guy here actually with an axe, and the axe like right back over his head, ready to strike. And you've got three youths who are sleeping peacefully at this point in their beds, but their sleep is very much about to be disturbed because this is an innkeeper, horrible innkeeper, who has chosen to come into their room with an axe to chop them up. Why does he want to do that? Is he just a random serial killer? No, he's not. He has a perfectly reasonable rationale. He says, well, it's apparently a time of famine. I'm so shocked by this, I can't get my words out. It's a time of famine. And so his idea is that he's going to kill these youths, which he does, chop them up and put them in a barrel, pickle them in a barrel, basically, which is what's going on here on the right-hand side, and sell them as ham. Isn't that the most disgusting story? You knew that I'd come up with something, didn't you? Father Christmas, oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. No. Blimmin' babies, or not babies, but youths being chopped up and to be sold as ham. But of course they don't get to be sold as ham, because what you have in the centre of this image is fabulous St. Nicholas, who has put them all back together again, and is giving them the benediction, so they are not only made whole, but they're also, thank goodness, resurrected. So there he is in the centre, looking really quite happy with himself, as well he might. So that is why St. Nicholas has become the patron saint of children. He didn't get his suit and his hat and everything until the 19th century. And then it was really sealed in the early 20th century when Coca-Cola, they weren't the originators, I don't think, of the red suit, but they certainly perpetuated the idea of Santa in a red suit, because they had adverts from the 30s all the way up to the late 60s, the Coca-Cola adverts. So that really kind of gave us the whole idea of the chubby, lovely, happy, red-cheeked Father Christmas with his big beard and his bottle of Coca-Cola. But Father Christmas started out life as a difficult baby, and then he saved maidens, and then he saved children and became the patron saint of children. And good for him. I'm going to turn commenting back on, and I'm going to have some sherry, because you've got to have a bit of sherry. Hi, Steph, and hello, LW Wood. But I hope you enjoy the slightly disturbing stories of St. Nicholas. You might not think of him in the same way this year, but I hope you all have a fantastic Christmas. I will be here on New Year's Eve, so goodness knows what I'm going to do on New Year's Eve. Maybe a little roundup of the craziest bits. If you've got a crazy bit that you remember and yes, crazy stories. Happy Christmas, thank you. Yeah, if you have something that you want me to revisit, then do let me know. If you're looking for something different to do over Christmas with family and friends, now it's all going to be much more in the virtual world than I will be posting today, but I have done a download of my Christmas event, so that is possible for you to purchase on the Beyond the Palette website, beyondthepalette.co.uk. But for now, I'm just going to wish you a very, very Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a lovely time, whatever you're doing, and I will see you next week. Cheers.